also connected to deeper story of Purim. So let's see if this is working. Okay. We start off with the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov. The Mishnah says, "Hakodesh hamegillah lemafreya lo yatsa." That's the famous Mishnah. If you read the Megillah backwards, you don't fulfill the Mishnah. What does this literally mean? It means as follows. This is very practical. If you walk into Megillah 10 minutes late, you cannot hear all the chapters from number, let's say 2, 3, 4. Let's say you missed the first chapter, and you're going to go and you're going to hear the rest of the Megillah and say, "I'll do the next minyan. I'll hear just chapter 1, and I got everything," because that's called lemafreya, out of order, backwards, and lo yatsa. You did not fulfill the mitzvah of Megillah reading. Understand this? The literal halacha. The Baal Shem Tov came and explained it. Beautiful insight. It's always brought. All the Hasidic masters would talk about this a lot. Look how you read it. If you read the Megillah backwards, if you say it's a nice story that happened way back then, you hear Shlomo? If you read the Megillah backwards, why? You ever heard this word? If you read the Megillah and you say it's something that happened a long time ago,
it's not the same.
No, you think if you say that the story is only like nice history and it happened in the past, but it's not relevant now, that it's not being re-experienced, lo yatsa. What does that mean? You don't fulfill the obligation. See how the Baal Shem Tov is not chas v'shalom, he's not taking away the literal halacha. Of course, that still applies. If you come in late to Megillah reading, you can't just hear the last half, the second half, and then the first half. But the Baal Shem Tov is telling us a deeper pshat in this Mishnah, that if you think the story is just something old, that happened a long time ago, you missed the whole point of Purim. And of any Jewish holiday, that's the truth. If it became a Yom Tov in Torah, it's because there's something that's alive, something that you could re-experience and connect to every year on that time, in those days, with the special prayers and the special mitzvahs. But that's what it's about. But especially Purim, like we'll see. Okay, so specifically we're going to focus on this deeper insight of, which is the Shabbos Zachar, right? So actually, the Purim story is round 4 between the Jews and Amalek. Anyone know the previous matches? When was the first time?
They left Egypt on the way
on the way to Matan Torah. Very good. Let's remember that year. Oh, before I show, who remembers the year from the general knowledge?
48.
Again?
2448.
2448. Very good. Now, like a few minutes before.
How did you know that?
Where's the next one? When was the next one?
There's it was by Yeshua.
Very good. You're right.
Yeshua,
yeah.
And
right by Yeshua, it says before entering the land, right before, again, they disguised themselves. Yeah. Very good. That was 40 years later.
And then with Shaul.
Yes, very good. The third time was 2883. That's already 40 years later. Right before by Yisrishai. With Shaul versus King Agag, and that was when Shmuel told him that you should have listened. It's more important than all the sacrifices. Don't do Hashem any favors. Just listen to what he says. Right? Famous Haftarah. So that was number 3. And these are Shaul and Agag are actually the ancestors of Mordechai and Esther come from Shaul. Mordechai and Esther come from Shaul, and Haman is called Agagi because he came from this king. It's a whole story about that, right? And the fourth one is around this time with Mordechai, and that's the Purim story. Okay. When it comes to the mitzvah of Amalek, of remembering of wiping out Amalek, that's what I want to focus on. What's what the Torah treats it so extreme. It says Machai Emcha Zecher Amalek V'Tachas Hashemayim. Totally wipe out any trace of Amalek. Why is the Torah so fanatically extreme against Amalek? What's with Amalek? What do we have against Amalek? Oh, welcome, Michael. Come sit down. Come right in the front if you want. You can see. You're good. We're just starting. We're discussing the arch enemy of the Jews, if you heard of them, Amalek. We want to discuss a lot of the background and the insights, how it's relevant in our lives as well. So, the glasses? Here. No, Michael, you're good. Your glasses are here.
Thank you, Rabbi, sir.
Okay? So, if you realize we had a lot of enemies, but none of them does the Torah say you have to wipe them out, any remembrance of them. That's the first thing. It seems very strange. Something the Torah has extreme, like severe animosity to Amaleks. Out of all the Egyptians mistreated us, the 7 nations, all these people that they took away Avimelech. We had fights with a lot of the Plishtim made a lot of problems there, but none of them we have this extreme injunction to, you know what it means to get rid of the memory of Amalek? You're not allowed to. Rashi explains practically that if there's like a vase that came from Amalek, you have to destroy it, so no one should be able to say that this table, this vase, was from Amalek. You have to destroy anything associated with them. Now, nowadays, the question, if you knew, we don't have it.
But someone came with a document that he's from Amalek.
So hold on. We're going to get to the practical. This is this slide. There's a Gemara. This makes the question even stronger because there's a could I get married to the regular Jewish person? Rabbi Gamliel said you can't. Rabbi Yeshua said you could. Rabbi Gamliel says, but it says someone from the nation of Ammon is not allowed to join the Jewish nation. Even 10 generations, meaning they're not allowed to ever do it. Amalek Rabbi Yeshua, but they're not the real Ammonim anymore. They're not in the same place anymore. Far Allah Sancherev Melech Ashur. Remember him? Sancherev, the king of Assyria, he already rose up. And he confused, he mixed up all the nations of the world. So the rabbi said, you're right, and they let him join the Jewish people. Now, halakhically, the nations, whether it's the same thing would apply to Amalek, which means it's not even practical anymore. Amalek is lost. It's gone. Halakhically, we don't know who's Amalek anymore. Anyone could convert. You cannot destroy them and say, I think he's Amalek. You don't know. And so the Torah is on the one hand, is so extreme against it, but it seems also like it's over. It doesn't apply anymore. But we know that the Torah is timeless. Everything in the Torah is meaningful and relevant. But how are we supposed to deal with this extreme animus towards Amalek, and yet we don't know what Amalek is? How are we supposed to do that?
Where did they come from in the?
And we're a nation in that region in the Middle East somewhere. They're Esau's descendants, grandchildren, Edom, Seir. So, but we want to know how Torah is eternal. It has to be meaningful to us. And especially something in the Torah, there's no other thing in the Torah where it's just such extreme, animosity and destruction. There's nothing else in the Torah that's so extreme.
What's your code on helping us?
What?
Helping us. What's your code?
Oh, it's on. It's open.
Yeah.
Okay. My wife's got an appointment. Okay.
They did it, Rabbi. This is I just read this morning in the
story.
Reb Binyamin.
I'm going to tell you about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it true that Esau is a
Such a
descendant
chassid.
of
Esau was the grandfather of Amalek.
But wasn't he? Was he the son? He was the son of Yitzchak. He was the son of Yitzchak.
He was the brother of Yaakov.
But he actually was pretty cool. He could have brought Mashiach right away.
Okay. A short story. There's a famous chassid of the Alter Rebbe. His name was Reb Zalman Zezmer, and this is an anecdote of how he became a chassid. He was once by the Torah reading of Zachar, or maybe it was Hiseitze. It was one of the times where it was reading about Amalek, and he saw another chassid of the Alter Rebbe, Reb Binyamin Kletzker, and he was noticed as they were reading it. He saw on his face, like they were reading against Amalek, and he saw such hatred and such disgust that he was so touched by that. He said, for him, something's real. The Torah, the concepts are alive for him. It's meaningful. For me, it's just like checking boxes. Oh, you have to hear Zachar, you have to hear the words, you have to do this. But he realized there was so much more to Judaism to learn about. And that's how he ended up. He spoke to them afterwards, but he said to go to the Alter Rebbe to learn Chassidus if you want to really understand the deeper ideas of everything in Torah, and all the mitzvahs and all the laws. So this is the anecdote that we're going to try to explain. What was Binyamin Kletzker feeling? What was he in touch with? What did he know that he felt such animus that it showed? And this will also explain to us why the Torah is so against Amalek. Okay? And how it's meaningful to us now. That's what I wanted to do. I collected basically from different sources. In Chassidus, I'm going to try to show you all different, the monster of Amalek. It looks funny a little bit, but it's actually, says the Kedushin Gemara talks about a 7-headed demon, a demon with 7 heads. It talks about in the Gemara Kedushin, that a funny story about it. But this is a lot more actually. It's going to be more than 7 heads, but we'll see.
Rabbi, that person by the story, they bring another one too. They bring an alternative version. They know that he was reading it by the 6 remembrances.
Oh, okay. Then it would be even more. Even when he was just mentioning it every day, instead of just rattling it off, he was saying it. Okay. I also saw in some sources that it says Hillel Potacher became a chassid that way.
Too,
Okay. So let's get personal. First of all, remember we mentioned before, Torah is Lashon Eidah. Torah is timeless and relevant. That means every character in the Torah exists in us, in a spiritual sense. The heroes as well as the villains. Every story in the Torah is experienced in our own life journey somehow. Every wicked nation or villain represents some kind of evil challenge that we deal with in our real life. Like in ourselves. That's what it means, Torah. It's Torah Lashon Eidah means everything that's included in Torah is forever, because it's real, it's part of our lives and our experiences. Amalek must represent a really important, common, and dangerous idea. If it's so much animus to it, it's not just a regular villain or a regular bad nation. Something about it must be much worse, and that's why we have much worse. The Torah says destroy every trace of it and wipe them out in the most extreme terms. So even though we showed before that halakhically we don't know where the physical people of Amalek are. We say all the anti-Semites probably are Amalek, but you can't prove it. Halakhically you can't prove that. Just like we accept converts now from all the nations, the majority, we go by majority. But spiritually, you could really, really relate to it personally. That's why the Torah is still eternal, how everything is inside of us. So let's get more personal. So, you don't have to raise your hands. Does anyone ever struggle with their lack of enthusiasm? Does it seem sometimes too difficult to hold on to our inspiration? Do you occasionally feel apathetic about prayers, Torah, or mitzvahs? You're not in the mood, right? Like this cow over here, right? I'm not in the mood, or not in the mood unless you have food, right? So, where does that come from? So this is the first head of Amalek. It says in the Torah, the way it introduces Amalek is, remember what Amalek did to you. Asher karcha baderech. They cooled you off. That's what it means. They make you not in the mood, not excited. No enthusiasm, no feeling. This is the spiritual concept of Amalek. It makes you just don't have your energy. It cools it off. It finds a lot of ways of doing this. But the word karcha can mean they attacked you, they encountered you in battle. But also the word kar is in Hebrew is to cool off. It's cold. So asher karcha can mean they made you cold. Cold as in they took away your passion, your feelings, your excitement. This is what Amalek is. There's a little anecdote it's a pretty interesting illustration of this. But before our Rebbe became Rebbe, during the lifetime of the previous Rebbe, he once saw somebody come out of the previous Rebbe's room very excited. He said, could you share with me what something that the previous Rebbe shared with you? So he was saying, it was so exciting. He told me that if I'm connected to him, I'll be connected to the Balatanya. And this got the guy very excited. So the Rebbe shared it by Farbrengen later. He said, I didn't want to be Amalek, so I didn't tell him anything. But for us Chassidim, it shouldn't really be. We should be happy to just be connected to the previous Rebbe. It doesn't matter who that connects us to the altar. That should be enough for us. But I didn't want to say anything because I would be doing the work of Amalek. If someone's excited, anything, any words that could pour cold water on someone's excited about something good, something that's in the Torah mitzvahs, is a form of Amalek. This is the first head. It's also very connected to the word mikra. It's also asher karcha, the word mikra, which means random. It happened. Right? We just had the first Rashi in this week's parsha. Remember, Vayikra is by Moshe, but the Nevi'im is Vayikra. He happened to meet Bilam. Like it's a lower level. It happened to be, because Amalek often cools us off by giving us the impression that everything in our lives is random and not meaningful, and feel like Hashem is taking care of you and making things happen to you. But this is very related to the cooling off, and it's also another word that hit another concept. It's like, he tries to tell you you're meaningless, you're insignificant, you are here, right? Okay, let's continue. Let's do another head. Do you struggle with any of the following? You do not have to raise your hand. Do you ever sometimes doubt your own value? Uncertainty, anxiety, that means you're doubting your future. Does it really matter what I do? Is it meaningful? Like, why should I control myself? Do you have worries about the future, anxiety, lack of confidence in yourself, lack of tranquility? This also is another head of Amalek. Remember, I recycled this slide from a previous class in the Mishnah Chasar Marbim V'Simcha. Remember, what's the greatest joy? It says there's no joy like removal of doubts. How is this connected to that? We said Amalek is gematria doubts. Suffix. The word suffix, they both add up to this nation represents this. This is another way it cools off a lot. Makes you doubt yourself, doubt your future, doubt your value, makes you worrying and question everything. Does it really make a difference? Why should I try? Is it really going to matter what I do? This is another head of Amalek it's gematria, famous idea that's gematria suffix. Okay? 240. Let's go another one. Do you struggle with any of the following? Self-esteem, self-acceptance, insecurity, difficulty accepting criticism without deflecting or counter-attacking. You know those kind of people? Like this guy. I really don't like to complain, but this is a literal doormat. But yeah, okay, he's the doormat of complaining. So, do you feel the need to show off and impress others, to please others for their feedback and validation? Do you have difficulty regulating yourself when things don't go your way? Right? Don't be afraid of losing yourself trying to please everyone. You can't please everyone. Okay. So this is another face of Amalek. What can I say? I'm a people pleaser. First I'm going to explain the symptom a little bit. These are, if I'm okay with you, of course, right? These are all symptoms of a distorted and unhealthy sense of self. Lacking confidence in our own worth and desperately trying to compensate by impressing, attacking, or controlling. Everything we said the last two slides is just some form of trying to compensate for this, right? This is commonly referred to in Chassidus as yeshes, unhealthy ego. Anyone walking around with the need to feel superior to others, to look down or judge others, to instantly deflect any criticism or counterattack is just trying to compensate for a very fragile, insecure sense of self. All that pompousness, all that deflecting, trying to please, it's all coming from an unhealthy sense of self. Right? Like this guy. He does wonders for his self-esteem. He thinks people that he's a shark. Okay. All right, it's his Purim costume. So this is the next one. Amalek also adds up to Ram, which is unhealthy, inflated ego. Like it says the worst and the most distant from Hashem is someone Tayevesavaya Kog Valei. Hashem says the only place I can't have to hold my nose next to somebody who's full of themselves. In this sense, in an unhealthy sense, they always brag and always this because they struggle really with this kind of insecurity.
Yeah, back posture.
What? Okay.
Where they
Bittul.
coming from? Where they coming from? This ego and
But really, you don't appreciate yourself, your value. So you don't believe in your own value yourself, and that's why you have to try to get validation from others, but it never happens. You can never satisfy it. It's an endless pit until you learn your own value, how you have unconditional value to Hashem. Until then, it's going to keep trying to please others. It's never going to work. It's going to make you more of a slave to other people's opinions and stuff. Bittul, I like this translation. Bittul, self-nullification, we talk about a lot of Chassidus, is not most humble a word. It's actually distant. The humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. You're confident with who you are, so you don't have to focus on yourself so much. It's not thinking low about yourself, because people have this misconception you have to put yourself down and be self-effacing. That's not bittul. Bittul is you don't have a need to focus on yourself because you're happy with who you are. And therefore, you could actually, don't focus on me. It's not about me. I could focus on being there for another person, on submitting myself to Hashem, because it's not about me. I don't have this obsessive with myself.
No, what are you doing?
Okay. Another head of Amalek. So that was Ram. Do you often find yourself being selfish and focusing on what's in it for you? I skipped it. That was quick. Okay. So this is another thing. This one I see it in another source, yeah. That Amalek is an abbreviation for Almanas L'Kabel Pras. Almanas L'Kabel Pras. What's in it for me? You understand? You want to do everything? You can't seem to get past that. What am I going to get from it? This is also an Amalek. Just trying to make you an animal, a selfish animal. Don't be more than that. Just always focus on what am I going to get. Of course, it's natural because we have the animal souls naturally the dominant part of our consciousness. But it's a tragedy if we become a slave to it and we define ourselves and we surrender to this part of us that's just selfish and always wants to be absorbed in what's in it for us. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I've seen in different parts of Chassidus, one says that you shouldn't do it almanat lekabel pras, but another is it's like you're using your nefesh bahamis for kiddush, like you're using it to charge you towards something.
So the Rambam brings that this concept is for a beginner, like Yiras Einish. It says in Chassidus, if it works, even though it's selfish and very low, but you're afraid of punishment. But sometimes for immature, like spiritually immature levels, it's holy then, because that's what works. The same thing with Almanas L'Kabel Pras. The Rambam says clearly you should give children. Children doesn't just mean physically and age-wise. It means anyone where the level could be a child. They need to start off with perks and benefits and things, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's normal. However, you want to graduate, you want to mature more, and not be focused on ideally at all on what's in it for you, because that's a very selfish. It's not a real relationship yet. The relationship really starts when you could focus on the other. You don't need to focus on what's for yourself. All right, some more. Do you struggle with any of the following? So that was Amalek. And it said Almanas L'Kabel Pras. Depression, lack of motivation, deflated moods, lack of satisfaction, laziness. Guess what?
That's camouflage.
That's mar. That's like mara, the word mara, right? Depression, sadness, deflated, lethargic. What is not officially a sin yet in certain respects is far worse than any sin. Sadness, depression. This is our famous Hasidic word. Aaron of Kalin said, there's something that's not a sin, but it's worse than any sin. And there's one thing that's not a mitzvah, but it could be spiritually beneficial more than any other mitzvah. The two things were, mikvah is a positive thing, and sadness is not officially listed as one of the prohibitions, but it can be worse. What?
It's mikvah. I thought it was simcha, maybe. Yeah.
So actually, he said depression. It was. Some people will say it that way, but the main way it says is something that's not a sin, and mikvah is the other side. Simcha it could be, but he said it with mikvah. Simcha would be included in the sadness one.
Oh, I said this too. He said that three things the things remember the sin and it's not.
Right, yeah, that's a different word. Yeah, but he's saying that it's not officially in the count, but it's more spiritually more potent in a way, and that's something else. That's what he's saying about. Yeah, tell me after the class. Maybe I'll put it in. I have to get it exact. I heard of it. You remind him.
The author ever says there are three things that are also by sin. It's atzvus, atzlonis, and gaiva.
Right.
Atzvus, depression, atzlonis, laziness, and gaiva, arrogance.
Right. It's actually okay. Why are you often? This is a classic, another classic. Are you often frustrated about the discrepancy between your knowledge and your behavior?
Yes.
Do you know what you should be doing, but it seems so difficult to implement?
Yeah.
No. Perfect.
Amalek is related to the word malika, which refers
It's perfect.
to a specific form of slaughtering the animal behind the neck.
Oh, you didn't get him. Get that
It
chicken.
means
Can we watch a video of that?
separating the head from the body, also known as detached heart syndrome. The head from the heart. That's what a malika. Malika means is a cut. Makes a separation. So Amalek spiritually represents that syndrome that you know a lot, you know what you're supposed to do, but that makes a separation that shouldn't affect your emotions, which means your motivation, your behavior should not match your knowledge. It makes a gap, makes a cut, a cliff between what you know and what you should be doing. So even at this, if you're frustrated with that, again, you should channel that frustration. You should recognize it that this is another head of Amalek in our lives.
What's the solution for it?
We're gonna get to by the end a little bit. and the rest of the Fabrangans. Purim.
there.
Let's keep going. Do you struggle with, no, it's actually more. Do you struggle with leaving your comfort zone? So that's Lashon Malika, the last
On
one.
the edge of his comfort zone, so he's
Yeah.
doing good.
Do you often feel unmotivated to doing more than your basic obligation? Where does this come from? I wonder where this comes from, right? Your comfort zone is here, and the magic is right here. It's right here. As you notice? See how close it is? It's so close. The people don't realize. The comfort zone is people, if they would just go out, right? So, if you relate to this, where do you have this in Amalek?
Can I make
So this one I actually have from my father, that Amalek is the word Amal Kof. In those days, they used to review 100 times. That's what's normal. And Amalek says only do Amal Kof, what you have to do. And not Amal like work, but never more than 101. But the Alter Rebbe says that's the key if you're serving God or you're just doing your rote, you're what you're used to. Amalek tries to say, just do what you have to do. Don't do more. Stay in your comfort zone. Don't grow. So again, you have in the word Amalek another concept that's such a dangerous spiritual malady. That it's the Lashon Amal Kof. Remember this in Tanya, chapter 16? It brings this idea that they would do 101, 100 times is considered basic, and 101 is considered serving Hashem. Because it was normal to do 100 times. Right? So I don't want to hear guys complaining about Chazara. You did already a few times Chazara. I mean, the truth is they did it. They didn't have things written down. They really had to memorize everything and with all the details. Okay. Bare minimum guidelines for the lazy person. Another phrase. Do you delay and procrastinate? Right?
never?
My diet starts
happened.
tomorrow. So look at this. Ayom Moshe Yeshua. Oi. Oh no. You pushed it out of the box.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So look. So this is also another part. Vayomer Moshe Yeshua. This is the first war. Moshe tells Yeshua, "B'charlanu anashim, b'tzei yilachem ba'amalek." And let's go fight with Amalek. Mochar, tomorrow. So Chassidim would say, if I bring it, they would say, Amalek is Mochar. That do it tomorrow, start tomorrow. Start that delay at the worst time, whenever you want to start something good. That is a form of Amalek also. Later, tomorrow, another time, right? Right, so they would say, even though it's a comma here, right, that tomorrow is going to be the war, go fight with Amalek, but Chassidim would say, you could read it, Amalek Mochar, that one of the faces of Amalek is, let's push it off to tomorrow. Okay? Oh, this is another classic.
Oh,
If only I would have married to receive $1 from the Rebbe.
I know what I'm
If
If only I would have married to receive a private.
$1 from the Rebbe from
Wait.
his hand.
And before, you know what they said before
a
that?
different person.
Before that? Yeah. If only I would have married to receive a private audience with her.
Then I would
If only I would have married her to participate if I married with her.
That's also true.
If only I would have married her to see the best Hamikdash.
If I
That's what they
had
said.
to cross the
I met the Rambam, the Alter Rebbe.
Rebbe.
Then I would be inspired. Then I would be religious. It's not fear. It's not fear. Then I would be mad to say, right? This is actually, so you know what Chassidim would say? This is another head of Amalek.
Oh,
They would say in Yiddish, Amal is Amalek. When you're focusing on these things, you have to deflate yourself. Amal in Yiddish means then, whack then, right? They would say always by bringing. The HR is just trying to deflate you and ruin your mood. What's the reality?
if only I lived in
Hashem, who knows your abilities, weaknesses, and challenges, and personality, and your strength, and your soul inside out, He provided exactly what you needed for your growth and your journey. What experiences you need to succeed in your mission. Anything focusing on the Amal, if I would have seen right, after every tzaddik they felt that, and after every gilui, and it was always like that, because we say history is always going down. So if you're ever focusing on this, and it's deflating you, of course you can talk about things, and you could inspire yourself, but if it's just like, you think it's like, as a,
Remember when I saw my Matan Torah, Hashem speaking?
yeah, we're talking. So this is another form of Amalek. So let's review who remembers all of that. How many do we have?
7.
This is what I think is more than 7. Let's
Those
see.
guys look cute.
Let's see. Number 1 was Korcha, cooling off. We had Suffolk, doubt. We had Mar, depression.
Ram was first really in this.
Ram and ego, like
That looks pretty cute.
exalted it.
Ram should be the tallest one.
A good point. Hamokuf, do I have to, right? Only what I need to do, right? Hamanas l'kabel pras, what's in it for me, right? To get a reward.
Tongue out.
Marika, the detached heart syndrome, right? It makes you know it, but you don't.
For the body,
It doesn't affect your behavior. Amol, I live in the wrong time.
One more.
Oh.
Mikra, we said, random.
These are 9.
Another one.
Oh.
Machar, I'll do it tomorrow. Push things off. Procrastination.
Another one.
Any more?
11
Torah
headed
Ohr,
your
Yeshiva Torah Ohr popped up.
Why did that? Or I'm like,
I must have, you know what happened?
No.
You know what happened? I shared this last year.
yeah.
I want to put the logo because I shared it on WhatsApp. It was going around.
Uh-huh.
So I might as well, I said I'll put the source.
Wow.
That was dangerous. So you could count, but it doesn't match the heads. It's square heads, you know? Anyway, so now we can appreciate the severity and relevance of the Torah's animus towards Amalek and how it's timeless and it's meaningful. It's not like, and this is what he saw on his face. This is what was detectable or noticeable in Rabbi Naman Kletzker's facial expression. Remember the opening story? How he saw something. What was he? It was real. It was Torah is a lot. Everything was related. The Torah, he learns about it. It was things. It was real struggles in our lives. And this is what we want to keep in mind as it's with the theme of Purim and the Shabbos. When we're supposed to make a special Torah reading, we try to listen to. It's considered biblical according to most opinions. It's a special obligation. Even for women, they try to go this week. By the way, if you miss it, many opinions say you could go Shabbos, Purim in the morning. We also read, even though it's Sunday, before Megillah reading. It's actually a big schus to get Hagbah then. You get Hagbah, you hold that Torah during the whole Megillah reading. I'm just saying, I'm assuming it's a big schus. It's not an easy one.
It's like Rosh Hashanah.
You have to hold it for the whole Megillah reading. You could follow, you sit right there. It's special. But whoever gets Hagbah this Purim morning, they also read the...
Rabbi, instead of a white shirt, can I get an Amalek Sucks shirt if I do the mitzvah? Amalek Sucks. It says like big on the front.
You speak to every store for the details. Okay, that's today's class. You have now time. I hope you got a little more of Amalek. This afternoon we're going to do the game show review on the laws and customs of Purim, Anti-Necessita Purim and all the things. That it's going to be a PowerPoint game show review. So may try to prepare it. It's also going to be at like 6:40, like 6 o'clock around. We'll see. Okay, let's review Gemara. Oh, so I started to. I didn't finish making the slide, but all the things. The antidote is, of course. First of all, the first thing is I didn't finish. I ended up talking to him a little more than I wanted. I want to add a few more things I prepared. I didn't finish doing it. So first of all, recognizing it, that this is Amalek. It's not holy. It's not when you're all these things are unhealthy spiritually. Some of them could look a little bit holy or good reasons. It dresses up. And a lot of them, each one has its own thing. Recognizing it is the big part. It says, Yediasa Hamachla is the Chasidefua. You know, recognize the illness, the unhealthiness is a big, it's more than half of the healing. Because then you start to notice it, you can start to resist, you can start to fight. Then there's developing healthy little. It brings, you know what it brings? I have one of the things I took a few pictures of the hair. I want to put it into the slide. They bring it, where was it? One of them is good. No, where was it? This one. It says, learning oisis of Torah, to etch words of Torah into our memory, to think about them and envision them every time and in every place. This is the answer. When we're inspired to break free from the solution to the creep of Amalek is, this is what the Finikam writes in Sefer Mamonim Patresim, volume 2, page 570, right? Brings the solution to the creep of Amalek is whenever he comes, to break free from our physical and spiritual limitations. Amalek comes along and attempts to intervene. Oh, here it is. The Amalek is Zachar, to each words of Torah into our memory, to think about them and envision them every time and every place. That's just one day. I collected a few